vote was 150 million.
You know, he's saying it wasn't announced then that when the Femi administration got into power now that they discovered.
The question is also that as Femi announced his own.
Then how did you know that he has increased it then?
You see, I was in government.
Thorough and incisive discussions.
They are not complaining.
You know, but they are not the only ones complaining, Mr. Ngilali. We've had complaints also from ASU.
ASU will say, there's so much corruption in federal government. There's so much. Answer me. I want you to ask them.
Engaging interviews with key stakeholders in various sectors.
Have you since then, met General Ibrahim Babangida? Have you reconciled after?
Oh yes.
You've met him?
Yes, I met him twice. General Babangida and I, we have no problem. Don't forget.
But following up also, you said there's a lot he cannot balance in regards to money that went out of agencies under him.
In regards to money went out of agencies under him.
Yes.
What what I just.
Started this
Who is that person?
selection.
Who is the
Let me
person?
give you go to marketplaces. They will be rolling on our money and see whether you candidate of PDP. You are making rubbish.
Frank talk, quality talk, taking it from all angles, politics and policy being played out by our politicians and policy makers.
Join me, Femi Olanipekun, your host on Frank Talk, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday on Rave 91.7 FM, where we have frank discussions and give you quality talk. Always.
Alaji, you will have the time.
Just beating about the bush.
Alaji, just hold on.
That is your.
Is that true, Mr.
That is for you who say
I am
it is
not
not
aware of
true.
that.
You will not agree.
Hello, good morning, and thank you so much for keeping faith with our amazing radio dial, Rave 91.7 FM. Happy holidays to you.
And thank you so much for starting your day with us right here on Rave 91.7 FM. Welcome on board Frank Talk for this lovely Tuesday morning. Frank Talk is where we look at trending issues in the policy, bring them closer to you, and help you to have a better understanding, have much better insight into the issues that we look at right here. Policies, politics, governance, all of that we dissect from different perspectives. I mean, have a much better understanding, have deeper insight for you to be better equipped to make better and informed decisions. On the program this morning, we'll be looking at some alternatives. There's been, a firm focus somewhat of Nigerians on some of those who are regarded as the major political parties. And Nigerians, some commentators are of the opinion that for us to get out of some of the challenges confronting the nation, we need to look elsewhere beyond the two major elephants, in the room. We need to look towards the direction of some of the other parties offering alternatives. Some have also argued that do we really have that distinction in terms of ideology or, in terms of a personality, even, or in terms of focus amongst the politicians, because of the way politicians cross carpet and move from one to the other. But this morning, with what we have coming down, talking about the number of days before the election here in Osun State, 73 days, 22 hours, 52 minutes, and as we speak at this moment, about 22 seconds. So the people of the state will be going to the polls to elect a new leader. We're looking at the feasibility of a third force. We're looking at the personalities, looking at antecedents, and perhaps some of these other variables that can actually help a third force for Nigerians and indeed Osun people to look in the direction of some of the other alternatives. On the national scene, the national election, the general elections, is also less than 300 days away, 297 days, 22 hours, 51 minutes, and 52 seconds as we speak. So as Nigerians will be going to the polls, first Osun and Ekiti, and then the general elections in February next year, what is the feasibility of these third force, shaking the system and Nigerians actually embracing them? What are those factors that perhaps might pose as inhibition or prevent Nigerians from embracing them? Do they have the structures? At what point would they be able to actually get things done or win the heart of Nigerians, or Nigerians actually even casting their vote for them? I'm joining the studios to help us look at these two gentlemen. Mr. Bukola Ido, who is the Executive Director of Kimpact Development Initiative. He's an expert in governance and also policy. Thank you so much for joining us on Frank Talk this morning, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Ayo Ologun, comrade, I should say, actually, civil rights activist, a journalist, and also a public affairs commentator. Incidentally, today is his birthday. Happy birthday to you, Mr. Ayo Ologun.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Nigerians.
And
Good
wish
morning.
you the very best of many happy returns.
Thank you very much.
So, let me start with you. And actually, if you look at our landscape, I'm not sure we've had, since the return of democracy in 1999, this Fourth Republic, outside the two heavyweights, the APC and the PDP, and I should stress this, that the other political parties do not like being referred to as minor political parties. But then for distinction, we have some people referring to them as that. So if I check, perhaps in the East, where you get APGA, and then in those states where we have one guy called Small Alaji, who won in the Dori axis of the states on the platform of the SDP. I'm not sure we've had those other alternative political parties doing too well. What do you think is responsible for their not too good showing in our political landscape?
All right, thank you very much. Contrary to what you just said, we've had a major upturn by a not too popular political party, and that's particularly in Ondo State, when we had Dr. Olusegun Mimiko coming from the Labour Party.
But I mean, it came through the court.
Through the court.
Not on the fourth
Not
ballot.
on the fourth ballot,
Yes,
of course. So that was the major one, because nobody gave him a chance then. We had PDP being very strong, and of course, the AD, which translated to the AC, the ACN, and the rest of them. So that's one. And the other two you make reference to, the Small Alaji, who, against all odds, emerges the youngest House of Rep member in Nigeria from the Donre Federal constituency, and of course a couple of other parties in the north. I mean, in the southeast. Two things are responsible for victory in political parties. And incidentally, I was in a forum yesterday where we were reviewing something similar to this issue last night, and we discovered that, look, Sometimes it's not about the personality. Sometimes it's not about the party. It's simply about the structure. Given the personality of Gani Fawayimi, of blessed memory, for example, the highlights, of course, knows how much of a person he is, how much of a colossus he is, how much he loves the people, how much he was willing to serve the people. But to everyone's dismay, he came to the election as a presidential candidate and came, I think, 7th or 8th in that election. And people began to wonder, with all his activism, with all his name, with all his fame, popularity does not win election. What win election is structures. The person living in Agumbeleo, for example, do not know who a Buhari is, does not know who a Tinubu is, does not know who a Ribadu is, for example, apart from hearing their names on radio and watching them on the television. But there is somebody in that community who probably is providing for them what others don't do. It's time to talk about security is at the forefront. They have problem of water, is there to solve it. They are talking about road grading, is there to influence it. And then at the time of election, they come to them and say, this is the party I belong to. And if you vote the party that I'm introducing to you or that I belong to, I can assure you that I will use my influence within the system to help us protect our society, community, to make sure that our transformer is replaced, to make sure our road is graded, to make sure that water is provided. As far as the people of that environment or that community is concerned, irrespective of how elitist they are, what is important is what we get to them as products of democracy, as product of the process. So for them, the person they know is that man that is seen, the man that is available, the man who you refer to in the political circle as the grassroots mobilizer. That is the man they know. So when it is time of election, they can hold that man responsible and follow the path that it shows them. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who the big man at the top echelon is. Whoever has the most number of grassroots mobilizers and grassroots politicians win the election. And in our climb, apart from social mobilization, apart from grassroots mobilization, another major factor that wins election in the present day reality of Nigeria is money. And the question would be, how much can small political parties gather? As we speak today, I have about 3 of my friends who are presidential aspirants on different political parties and are likely going to be they're likely going to be candidates of those parties. And each time we talk either on WhatsApp or on phone call, I said, look, it is maybe people like me and a few other people that know what you are capable of doing, that know what your antecedent is, that know what you are likely to give if you are given the opportunity to rule this country. But the question is, beyond maybe Ondo State, beyond maybe Ogun State, and the other person from a part of Lagos, apart from people that know you, that see you in the social circle, society movement, that listen to you on international radio and television stations and know how sound you are, who knows you in Igbekebo? Who in Inisha has ever heard of your name? And the question is, where will you get money to even erect ordinary billboard? Let's even say one per.
So money is critical.
It is critical.
Structure is also very critical.
Very critical. Well, and so when people don't have all this, there is no way such people can upturn or upset the 2 major political parties. But it is only possible. It is only possible when it is a movement of the people. And I'm saying this because I've witnessed it happen. In the days of Imeko in Ondo State, it was not about how popular he was. It was not about how rich he was. As a matter of fact, he didn't have so much money. But it was a movement. A movement in the sense
the people owned it.
The people owned it. And so it was only the face of the movement, and it was possible for the people to ascertain and make sure that their intention is made achievable.
All right, so Mr. Bukolaido, so how do we, how would those other political parties, so aside Governor Mimiko, we have a senator from YPP in Inewi, that's an Anambra State Senator Ifeanyi Uba, his name, Senator. That senator from Anambra State. What's responsible for their poor showing, such that even with those who cross carpet, because we have Shegun Oni now in SDP in Ekiti State, and from feelers on ground, he's doing very well. But eventually, some people are saying, because it's not from those 2 major political parties, it may still not do too well to win the ballot and the first ballot at the election. What's responsible, in your own opinion?
Well, I think we have to look at it from... we have to interrogate the reason why these people we just mentioned, the one in Idori, the YPP, and why they are able to get that ticket and then at the same time win the election. We have to interrogate that. What Comrade said, it's more of a nationalistic, national party. You are contesting for a national position, presidency, and the rest. So for me, I think one of the things that is lacking that is also and that is lacking is basically what we call the principle of small capture or small beginning, if you want to get it. I mean, the other side. Now, what am I trying to say is this. See, there is no law that says when you are on the ballot or a political party is registered and then immediately everybody is going in for the presidency. It doesn't have to be. When you interrogate most of these people, it is not that they have a good showing at the national level, but they had a good showing where they are able to capture. That is the principle of smaller capture. Now, where they are popular, start from there. Now we begin to grow. So what am I trying to say? The man in Idori was popular in Idori. So his personality drove that particular political party. Now, next time, now if you decide to say, look, I want to be the governor, you will see how it's going to fail. So what it means is that there are political parties that can be more effective at the local level. There are not even at the state level. But at the local government level, they can make a model out of a local government. And that is where they begin to move. Now, that is where they begin to grow. And when people begin to see, other political parties begin to see their influence and their impact, then they start talking about merger. Then you keep going national. But what we have today is even people who have not even contested in their own local government for anything at all. You understand? And then they come to the national level and they say they want to be the president. And that is why they keep coming the distant third. In fact, at the national level, you have 20,000 votes. Out of probably millions of votes. So this is where the challenge is. Now, popularity. So, like he said, structure when they win election. Then at the same time, who is leading the movement? I agree with that aspect of movement. Who is leading the movement? It's likely going to be the face of the person leading that particular movement. So now the person leading the movement should not make a mistake and say, look, we have arrived. So if you are popular in your state, if you are popular in that particular locality, then contest, make a model out of it, and then people begin to see what is happening. And that is why you see what Abga is doing in that particular state. Now, they stay with that state and they are there. Now, so what it means is that they can make a model out of that state. And that is why at the national level, when it comes to presidential, you see either APC or PDP negotiating with them to say, look, we know you are on ground here, but can we partner with you? Can you adopt our candidate? And that is where negotiation and power comes in. But what we have been having this day is people with no structure, and they don't have as much stronger structure like APC and PDP, now thinking they can use their personality to drive a national agenda.
Should that not be a factor? Should your personality, your antecedent not be a factor, in leading the people, or in the people actually are considering whether to vote for you or not?
No, I think it's the party. It is not your personal. For instance, how many lives an individual can touch? It's difficult. You can't. So no matter how popular you are, somebody will tell you in Ikoromaja that he has never heard your name before, but he might have had the impact of that party in that local government. So when you now leave a popular party and just say, oh, because I am popular in this party, you understand, and then you go to a smaller party, then we see how they fail woefully. Because in the cycle of the people, and I tell people, in the cycle of some of my friends I want to contest, I say in the cycle of the people, you are still looking at PDP, APC. Let's be frank with ourselves. Then maybe now we are going to begin to have a bit of thought force. But in the cycle of the people, those are two parties that are still popular. And that is why in some cases, look at 1999, we don't want to care about capacity. Whoever comes out, anybody that comes out under AD wins an election. And that is the structure we are talking about. And that is why you feel like, look, if I'm able to get my ticket in APC or PDP or the rest, then the job is half done. Why? You can't say that in any of those of the party, because where you have to slug it out the more is not within your party, it's within the people. But in those two parties, where you have to slug it out the more is within your party. And then the people, that is just need little effort. And that is why they know the main politics going on now is within the party. In those two
For the primaries.
For the primaries.
Secure the
so
ticket.
to just get the ticket. So when you get it, it's almost half done because the electorate are now left with those two options. You understand now? They're left with those options. But in other parties, you don't even have. That is why people just sit in the sitting room in those smaller parties and say, this is our candidate. And that is fine. But where you now have to begin to slug it out, to go to all the structures and a lot of things, is within the main people. Because structure is lacking.
So, Mr. Logun, are structures only built on party alone? If imagine we have an independent candidacy system in Nigeria, if our electoral also allows independent candidacy, can't you build your structure independent of a political party?
It's almost impossible.
Almost
impossible because of the kind of society we live in. And I tell you, if as an individual, you take yourself, let's take you as an example. Virtually every conscious person in Osun State will have heard of the name Femi Olanipekun because of your involvement, because of your role here in RAVE. But the question is, you can reach them through this platform. When it is time for election and you want to contest, for example, the very first thing you want to do is to visit all the local governments. When you have said local government, you are likely going to map out, you want to visit some royal fathers in that community, you want to visit some leaders. These are not people you go to and you prostrate and leave. These are people you go to and you say, Baba.
So when you prostrate, what else?
You drop cola.
What kind of cola?
You drop money. That is the reality. They will tell you, oh man, so you're laughing anyway, you're laughing. Because they expect that when you're coming to such a places, you must hold something in your hand to say, Baba Kekpe. That is the royalty. There are also some people who are not even royalty, but who are the voice and the face of some communities.
The
dog handlers. You don't go to them and speak grammar. So the question is, you have the problem of your structure in the sense that you don't go alone. You move with people. You talk about mobility. You have to get vehicles that will move them. It's expensive. People you are moving will not go on hungry stomach. If you're going to be a whole day journey, you probably will have 2 meals on you. You are traveling with about 20, 15, 30 people who are taking 2 meals on you. You exactly know how much that is in a day. And you want to do that for about 100 days, depending on the capture of the environment, how large where you want to contest it. So these are the issues. And in Nigeria, how many people will come and do crowdfunding for an aspirant in Nigeria? They will tell you politics is expensive. If you don't have the money, don't come in. Nobody will come and donate 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 to you in very rare cases. And even when they do, how much does it amount to? Whatever it amounts to, cannot even buy one single campaign box.
It's a systemic problem within our society.
It is systemic.
Our society, itself is not positioned in such a way to welcome those with ideas, but without the funds.
We are not conditioned that way. We've lost that part. Let's go back to the days of Awolowo. In the days of Akintola, it was about the people. It was about the person. People don't care. It doesn't matter then whether we had a bit of it up till some years back. It doesn't matter what party you are coming under. If you are someone that people have tested and they have known this is your capacity, they will go there. The template of Awolowo was what Tinubu was using. As of 2003 or 2007, the only state that the AD or the ACN was controlling was Lagos State. But because it's just like Mr. Dowu said, it was a template, it was a sample of what they're able to do with a particular state. The team started moving, captured Oyo, captured Osun, captured Ekiti. And at a point in time, the whole of Southwest belonged to a particular block of political leadership. Until we began to have some dissenting voices and some power tussle among them. And then they lost 1, lost 2, lost 3 to the PDP and other parties. And that is what happens in politics. People want to see who is driving a movement. There are 2 different things. Let me give you a breakdown. When we're talking about politics in Nigeria, the very first thing that people want to know is the people that are closest to them. The people that are the closest to them. The abalojas, the yalojas, the people you call dog handlers. People that even when there was nothing coming from politics, they were the ones that were feasible. They are the ones whose house they can go to and eat, whose house they can go to and fetch water, whose house they can go to and say, oh, my daughter has not paid school fees. Take this. My daughter is in the hospital. Take this. My father wants to, my mother's burial is next week. Take this. These are the people that have been there for them. So when it is time for election, they see more of those people than whoever is coming from outside because they know election will come and go. So if, for example, the person that has been sustaining them over time, they choose to be unloyal to that person. By the time election is over, he has a tendency of withdrawing whatever support is given them. He has a tendency of limiting to himself whatever benefit is coming from the political circle. So they are likely to go to toe that line. And that's why you see a politician that knows his audience go in the middle of the night to go and identify these individuals and talk to them, negotiate with them. They are the one that they are giving bulk of political capital to, even at the expense of the people that are really going to do the voting. That is number one. Number two, if a system now evolves, a party becomes known, a party becomes accepted across board. Once you reach that level, the next thing will now be who is the face of that party. And I will give you an example. Some years back in this state, it doesn't matter whether you are a cripple, whether you have something upstairs or not. So long you are an Aregbesola person in the 2014 election, you will win. Nobody wants to know who you are. Nobody wants to know where you are coming from. So long you are able to get the ticket of the party, APC, it is APC or nothing. And that's why we had all kind of representatives, all kind of senators, all kind of whatever, because it was not about what they are capable of doing. It's about the structure that is producing them. The same thing we had in the days of ACN here in the Southwest. It will not matter. People don't care whether you have capacity to deliver or not. So long you are able to get the ticket of the ACN, it's more than half job done, because the people are entrenched and they are in love, they are in acceptance with that party. The same thing was the days of PDP. In the days of Oyinola in this state, it doesn't matter where you are coming from. 2007, it doesn't matter. What is important is that you get the ticket of the party. So as we move on, people should begin to realize that at the state at which we are presently in this country, what is most important is building structure. I do tell people, if you are tired of APC, you are tired of the PDP, and you have other party in your hand, the first thing is not to jump at governorship or presidency and begin to paste posters. You need to go to the grassroots and begin to entrench yourself in those communities and society. You must be accepted by the people first. The people have to be able to relate with the party and the manifesto of the party. They must be able to relate with what the party is capable of delivering. It is when you begin to test waters, okay, you know that, okay, in this particular environment, your candidate can contest for councillorship and win landslide. In about 10 councillorship seats in a particular local government, you're able to win 3 or 4 because that is where you are most popular. You move on from there. You begin to think of, okay, having 1 or 2 local government chairman. Okay, you move in from there and begin to say, okay, we are more popular in this state, now let's capture this state. And then but what do we have? You just have party register, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry is pasting posters to wanting to be governor, to want to be president. There are governors whose name are on the ballot in Osun as we speak, who are not known on their streets. In fact, their next door neighbor does not even know they are candidates on the ballot.
All right, so I mean, we'll come to the issue of Osun later. But, so if I ask you, Mr. Idowu, because you talked about, this concept of small capture and starting small, growing big, and you made reference to some of the other, known people that we have. So, if I get you, you rather people like Omoyele Sowore or Kingsley Moghalu or Feladu Rotoye start from the House of Assembly or House of Representatives or Senate instead of aspiring to want to lead from the president? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I will tell you, not even at the federal level. Let's see what they have done at their states. And you see, this is the other side of that statement that says all politics are local. It's just the other side. You just have to see. I came back from Ekiti just this weekend. I mean last weekend, and most people in Ekiti State did not even know Fela Duotoye came from Ekiti State, and that is just the truth. That most people in that state. So that is exactly what we are talking about. Most people don't even know that Omoyele Sowore is even a Yoruba man. I mean, not to talk of so what are we talking? It's not about let's capture. I want to be the president. See, and I keep saying it. No matter how brilliant Kingsley Moghalu is, or Omoyele Sowore is, or Fela Duotoye is, they cannot. If you put anybody down in APC or PDP who have been local government chairman, who have been probably state member of House of Assembly, even at the House of Representatives, they will still beat them. That person will still beat all these people hands down.
All of them put together.
All of them put together. We beat them hands down. It's about the structure. It's about, see, let me say this. One thing you need to know is at the local level, though you are not there, but there is a structure there and somebody is there on behalf of that party speaking for you. I give you a practical example. We got to a particular community in this our job, and we are saying, please go out and vote. I said no. Somebody said, I'm one for something. I mean, he mentioned the name. He said that man said we are not voting. I was shocked. So okay, and do you even know what I was able to interrogate the man that said they should not vote. He said you NGO. We only see you every 4 years when it's time of election. You will have collected money. You are now coming. Is it not the same principle? You are not in a community. You don't have a representative within 4 years. After during an election, you are not coming, and then you are coming with, and I will give you scholarship. I will give you. It doesn't.
That man, a politician or not? He's just a community leader.
He's a community leader.
So on what basis was he saying they should not vote?
I think he wanted to get attention and money. Do you understand?
It's the one they know. It's the one they
But it's the one they know. He has been on ground. In fact, as a matter of fact, the last count, this man has dug like about 7 boreholes.
For them in that community.
So it's the one they know.
Their
It's
local
the government there. Is the government there. And that is why if you are even coming there to vote, if the man said this, if you raise your hands up, you are going to win that community. So what am I trying to say is this. Before you say, I want to go at the national level, you understand? Let's see what you have done at the local level. Come back to your state. Help them. Do something. Now, even take an appointment as a commissioner to understand how the system runs. People don't even understand how some of these systems runs, and they want to start at the national level. And that is where we are. Even we have people who have been in government in 80s, and then we bring them back in 2020 in the 2020s, and then they were disconnected with the reality. They don't know that these things have changed. So what am I trying to say is this: let's get back to the local level. We need your impact at the local level. Make your party strong at the local level. So, replicate it. See, no matter what Omoyele Sowore, Kingsley Moghalu are actually talking about, make your state a model first.
Okay, let me quickly share these thoughts. I agree with Mr. Bukola Idowu and everything I said, but let me also add that it doesn't have to be about them. This is the mistake that people who have responsibility of leadership make. It's not about you. For example, a few months ago when I had the opportunity of speaking with Yele Shomore, I told him it's not about you being president. Go to Igbekebo in Ondo State, that small community where you are known, where you are accepted, where people accept you. Pick one young boy or one person who believes in your ideology, who have the capacity to deliver the same thing you are capable of delivering. Bring that person out, give him all the support, give him all the fund, make him an House of Assembly member. He goes to the House of Assembly and becomes an outstanding member of the House of Assembly whose voice is listened to, whose voice is respected, whose voice people fear.
But even at that level, our people still do not consider them. Have we not seen people running? There was a chap here in this state who did so well. In one of those parties, I think it was Kowa Party at some point, and wanted to even start at the councillorship level, and we knew how it ended. There's been instances where some of these people even come and try out their hands at the smaller level. Is something wrong with our own psyche?
Two things.
Yes.
That person you refer to, how much resources was in his hand?
Should it be about resources? If we're talking about a change, and people have said, let's do away with the old practices, and we need to,
when I say resources, when I talk about resources, I'm not talking about vote buying. They are two different things. Okay. Resources is not just about vote buying. You are coming into a community where you've been speaking for them, for example, where you are known. It's not just enough because you have a name, you have a reputation. People want to see how much you can touch them as a people and as an individual. I made reference to his experience in Ekiti. As far as that person he was talking about in Ekiti is the government in that area. Is the one that pays their children's school fees, give them money for their daughters' marriages, provide water, is the government. So if you want to win anything in that environment, they defer to him, not because he is God, but because they know that when 4 years comes and goes, and all of you come to campaign and you leave, it's still the same person that they can still relate with. The same thing happens to young men who wants to contest in a particular place. You are known. Look, I don't know if I should mention it. For example, we have a young guy in the House of Assembly here. whom I've known for about 15 years. He didn't just become House of Assembly member overnight. His days from student unionism days, even after he left the school, he will go to that community, pick 3 people, pay for their jam form, which is almost irrelevant as at that time, 3,000, 4,000. He pays jam form, he buys jam form for about 10 people, he pays school fees of primary school students, he distributes exercise books and all that. So the people know that apart from speaking grammar, apart from being popular because they listen to him on radio and he comes around, he has shown capacity in how much he can impact life with the little resources in his hand. But young boy, like you said, who has capacity and you and I know, but who has not done anything for the people will still not accept him. So what I'm saying is that the likes of Moghalu, Showore, the likes, should realize that sometimes the change may not begin with them. For Showore, for example, in Ondo State where he's popular, I know how much is accepted within the larger community there. Go there, find a vibrant young man, give him what he needs to campaign, give him a vehicle for campaign, help him print posters, take him to the royal fathers there, clear the road for him, help him to scale the hurdles, and then ensure that he gets to the House of Assembly. Ensure that you provide leadership and counsel for him to make sure he performs and he doesn't end up like the rest of them. Then once he is outstanding, if he comes back to that community and say, okay, I want to move a step higher, I want to become local government chairman, or I want to become a member of the House of Rep, he will get the support. He moves higher. Then you pick another person. Before you know it, the tentacles begin to spread. So if in another 10 years, you've been able to build structures around who are now members of the Assembly, House of Rep member and all of this, and you now say, oh, you want to be this as their leader, they would give you ordinary support and mobilize for you within that community. But you don't just come from the blues because of a name and think you deserve it. As much as you deserve it, you won't get it. Take, what's his name? Fela Durotoye, for example. Of course, the Elites community in Lagos and some other parts of the country believes in him. Go to that part of Lagos where the majority of voters there are Elites. Speak all the motivational whatever.
They don't
to them.
even vote. I mean, the elites do not vote. I mean,
So Femi, and I think another thing we have to consider here, because all these things we have mentioned is just because of our peculiar situation in this
In
country.
Nigeria, yeah.
We should not even be talking about
Oh.
for you to be able to win an election, you have to be like a government in that particular thing, paying school fees, doing some of the things the government should do. We should not even be talking about that. And I think we have to come to a point now where we have to do like a realignment of values. So we need to begin to ask ourselves what is our value, what are the
As
value,
a
because
people.
as a people, and the conversation should start from the political class. So again, because when we talk about capacity, we talk about what people are doing in terms of resources. It means different things to different people. The people on the streets, when they say you have capacity, they are talking about your capacity to solve their problem. My wife is pregnant. Your capacity to pay the hospital bill. Now my son want to get to school. Your capacity to pay the school fees. That is the capacity we are talking about. But in the other side of the divide, we are talking about capacity to rule, to govern, to make to come up with policy that we impart, to be able to lower the inflation rate. Some people don't even know all those jargons we are talking about. All they want is, I want food on my table.
Stomach in front.
So you understand? So, and that is why we now need to calm down and say, look, we need to realign our value. The major challenge we have in this country, again, has to do with political party administration. Political party in Nigeria is not what it should be. Political party is not the one making noise. It's not the one speaking for the people. There should be an agenda. You understand? When we tell you are the far right, far left, we should know the distinction should be so sharp. And look, 3 weeks ago, I was in one meeting, in Abuja, and then the conversation goes on, and they said, look, the challenge they have is that some of this party, like you said, they don't want us to refer to them as smaller party. But the truth is here, they were complaining that even in some instances, some of their members wins an election. You understand? They defect to the bigger party when they get to the party.
I was going to ask,
you understand?
Is Small Alhaji still in SDP?
No, he's in APC.
Can you see that? So they defect. So, and again, that now begin to ask yourself a question. And in some people still believe we only have two major parties. All those ones are extension. So go and contest here, you come back to the same party. Again, if we also interrogate why they are also defecting, not because of the ownership that maybe APC owned that party or PDP owned that party, but at the same time is because they expect that you alone will now begin to shoulder the responsibility of that party from national down to the local. So you get their office for them, you begin to shoulder the responsibility of that party.
At all levels.
At all levels. So when you can't do that, you just move to where your small contribution will make a difference. So we need a lot of realignment of value.
Okay, so before we open the phone lines, I'd like for us to localize the conversation. So Osun elections is just, so a few months away, and we have aside the PDP and the APC, very strong candidates also on some of the other platforms. We have, in Accord, we have in Labour Party and some of the other parties. What's your assessment, your honest assessment, Mr. Olugun, regarding the performance or the possibility of an upset by a third force in the Osun elections?
There's not going to be an upset for me.
You're sure about
I may
that?
be wrong.
There is not going to be any.
I can tell you there's not going to be any. 80% sure that there won't be any, and I will tell you why there won't be any. We've been through this reign. For me, I don't know if it's ideal for me to mention them, but there are some of these candidates that are contesting on these other parties that I feel that irrespective of the cheating, so to say, that they've experienced in the different parties that they moved out from, it should have been an opportunity for them to go back to the drawing board. Even if they're going to choose this other party that they have chosen now, it shouldn't be about being on the ballot immediately. It should be about them going to those parties and begin to strengthen the structure of that party from the ward level, from the unit level to the ward level to the local government and then the state. So that by the time they are coming back in another 4 years to contest, they do not have the challenge of struggling it out in the bigger parties, and already they have a structure that can match up with the bigger parties. But what do we have? Immediately you feel like the fracture in the bigger party, the next thing is to just make sure that your name is on the ballot at all costs. And I will tell you, apart from the PDP and the APC, let's even go back to the 2018 election. As popular as Iyola Omishore was in Osun, as a former deputy governor and as a colossus politically that he was, that he is in Osun, by the time he contested under the SDP, what happened to him? He only had about 118 or thereabout thousands of votes, which was nowhere near winning an election. And even majority of that, we knew where that vote came from. Of course, the Christian Association of Nigeria and a few other blocks gave him that vote, which was not even enough. But compare his 2018 outing to when he contested in 2014 against the Rauf Aregbesola and look at the figures. So one thing tells you that there are some people that God will return. They have chosen a path politically that they will not deviate from. And it doesn't matter to them who the candidate of the party is, they will go as. And as far as we are concerned in Osun, there are only two parties we've tested, the PDP and the APC by whatever name.
Why should we not look in the direction of these other parties?
We could.
Because if we complain, you hear many Nigerians say the two parties have failed us. We need new hands. We need these. We should try other people.
How many people are in that other party? Look, majority of the people that vote in election get influenced by political party members. That's the reality. So who are the people holding the stake in those other parties you are referring to? How many former this, former that can you point to in those other parties who have influence in their communities, who can deliver votes on the day of election? Wow. Many of them don't exist, and that's why there's likely not going to be any of them.
And Femi, when you look at this thing called democracy, it is at the poll you have the voice of the people. Before you get to the poll, it's not the voice of the people. It's the elite capture that presents you your choices. So it is not. Even in America, that is why no matter how popular you are, you have not won any election by popular votes until the Electoral College decide. So now, this is where I am going. The people behind the scene, for me, are basically between the two major parties, APC and PDP. He gave a very good example. In 2018, you have stronger person in the third party. Probably the reason, maybe what people are also looking at now, is probably they will also be able to negotiate at some point in time. But the truth of the matter is this. All this is already late to go to, it's just because the people that are even luring you to come just need your money. They know you cannot win, and to them, it will be surprising for them if they win, but they can't. They know they can't. But because you need a kind of, to win an election, you need minimum of 6 months. Campaigning, you have to be on ground. So you don't defer to a particular political party 1 month, 2 months to an election, and you are saying you are going to cause an opera is totally difficult. You have a lot to do. You have a lot of resources to buy, to spend. You have a lot of gatekeepers to win to your side. And how are you going to do it? And most of these people are eternally loyal to some political party. So you are, and see, let me give you an example. Why do you think Dele Momodu will come back to PDP and say, look, I have to contest in PDP? This is not the first time of contesting. Why do you think Soludo will leave PDP and go to Abga to contest and able to win the election? Because structure, party also matters. And that is it. Though, like I said, our case is so peculiar. As of today, we should not be talking about APC and PDP. As of today, in fairness, we should not be talking about them because all indices, everything. Now, in America, for instance, now you will have seen that, rating has crashed. Approval rating has crashed. You will have seen it. You will have been seen that, look, this man promised he has not been able to do it. This thing has crashed. And then you are talking about, let's go to the other person. But in Nigeria, you see people who have failed glaringly and still coming out to campaign and say, we are going to do it and blame. And some people are still blaming 16 years of government, of PDP now. So this is the issue. So we need to, I think it has to be an agenda to have a long-term political education, civic education. People need to understand what manifesto is. People need to understand what drive change. It is not, because what we have now is just pay them on the election day. What we are doing now is institutional vote buying. So you do it and then people forget and then they come back and start complaining after 4 years.
Just if I open the phone lines, just perhaps in 30 seconds. So would you then rather say that we should just zero our mind on that we are going to be running a two-party state?
No, we shouldn't zero our mind to it.
But is that the reality?
That's the reality presently, but it can get better.
Is that going to stay like that for some time?
It can get better. It doesn't have to stay for that long. But present reality, we have to.
Is that what we should zero our mind on? Is it going to change anytime soon?
I don't see it changing anytime soon. And the reason is this: until INEC now adjusts for us to have a long term. To have other party. Until INEC adjust their timetable and don't give a range for party primary. Is it possible for all the parties to do their what is it called? Their primary same day? So with
so nobody is able to defect.
You are not
Party.
defecting.
Okay. So let's open the phone lines at this point. Let's get your opinion and your own contributions on our conversation this morning. 0806 867 6165 and 0905 648 7177. The numbers to call to be part of the program right here this morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What's the name you calling from?
My name is Solama Panjola from Oshogbo.
Thank you.
The question I want to ask my young two brothers, because they spoke very well. This is the code there. During our own period, it's our period. I didn't know anything about the Boko Sebe. But now, the Boko Sebe is now raining. Please, what can you say about it?
Thank you. Hello, good morning. Okay, let's check messages here. On Facebook, Adeyemi Omoni Temitayo says, I think it's time to stop promoting old and big thieves. They have stolen all our wealth, yet people are still in love with our oppressor. He's saying she will raise the right candidate. He has the structure in all the states in Nigeria. Until Nigerians stop romancing their oppressor, that's when we can get it right. We can't continue like this. Olashukomi also on Facebook. Olashukomi Olawale says, yes, PDP and APC have been planted at the grassroots level. Other parties are nowhere to be found at the grassroots level, and they want to rule the nation. You cannot climb a tree from the top, but the other party should start from ward also. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
What's the name you calling from?
I'm calling from Indonesia.
Thank you. Okay, I'm afraid you may need to call back. Hello, good morning. Hello. Bengo Gunti from Oshobo here on WhatsApp says, at times when one reflects on the leadership recruitment process in this country, one remains in a regrettable mood endlessly. I honestly long for a time when the likes of Professor Kingsley Moghalu of this world find themselves in the highest offices in the land without being moneybags or belonging to major political parties. I can't wait for an era of independent candidacy and an era where electoral outcome is determined by articulation and competence of contestants and not mundane sentiments. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning, sir. Please reduce the volume on your radio set.
I'm moving away from it.
All right.
Calling from Osogbo.
Thank you for joining us, sir.
Presently, there is no order in our political system. An absence of orderliness has brought us to this level. Let us continue praying. Let us continue educating our people. There will be political sanitation, and God will choose for us. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Hello, good morning. Let's see. The last message. Prince Abdurrahman Adegunju from Radio was excused to your guests for their perspicacious remarks regarding Nigerian politics. Our election has been grossly monetized, and ability to emerge victorious is driven by financial and structural strength of your party. Amawale Shewurian is ill and not in touch with reality. Their action is synonymous with the action is synonymous with running before learning to crawl. Okay, so final remarks of our guest. Mr. Idowu, in 30 seconds.
Well, I like I said, I think we have to start a lot of political education, civic education, voter education, a lot. We need to change the narrative from, of what we have presently. We have to demonetize leadership recruitment process in this country. We just have to, or else we are still going to be caged and captured by the people who have nothing to offer, but because they have money, they have a say.
Thank you. Mr. Ayolo.
Let me take this opportunity to speak to the youths. It's their time. It's the time of the youth. The generation presently ruling us are fading away. And if the youth do not take the bull by the horn by ensuring that the best of them rule the rest of us at this time, we may just be heading for a doom.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, Mr. Ayo Ologun, journalist, public affairs commentator, and a right activist. So thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Bukola Ido is Executive Director of Impact Development Initiative. Thank you so much for joining us on Frank Talk this morning.
Thank you.
Dear listener, that's the show today. My name is Femi Olanipekun. Happy holidays.
This is Rave 91.7 FM.
It's another season for admission.
Stand up for the champions, stand up.
Admission forms into Our Lady and St. Francis Catholic College is Aliaro Osogbo for 2022-2023 academic session are now out. Parents and guardians are by this announcement informed that admission forms into OSCO are now on sale for 5,000 naira only. Admission forms are available in the admission office within the college premises at Isaliaro, Osogbo. Entrance examination will hold on Saturday, 7th May 2022 at 8 a.m. prompt in the college hall. And interested applicants will write qualifying examinations in English language, mathematics, and general paper. Let your children and worlds join the train of happy and